Hello and welcome to What a Week It's Been. I'm Ben Steerick, and today we are joined by Carl Newman. Carl, tell me a little bit about your background. I know about you from Batman '89, but for some viewers who may not be familiar with you, go ahead and give us your Batman origin story.
Yeah, so a professional dancer that sort of came a little bit later, if you like. I know with guys it doesn't matter, the girls are always doing the ballet from a very young age, but I started sort of between 16, 18 to get more interested, and then went to a full-time college from the age of 20, not quite 21, and did 3 years in all facets of dance. So that really sort of catapulted me, if you like, once I got the training to then have the confidence to go out and start working in all forms of the media. Very, very fortunate that again, if you're good, you've got a good standard there, you're a guy, you'll generally have much more work thrown at you. So I was working constantly, really, throughout pop promos, TV, theatre, commercials, going abroad and doing very big sort of car launches, trade shows for some great clients.
And when
And
when you
then
you get started, I apologize for cutting you off. When you do that, do you have to get an agent, or is it through how does that work? Where you first start getting gigs doing work of that nature?
yeah, so I sort of went back from Surrey, where I was training, which is sort of southwest of London, and I'm actually from Leicestershire, so I'm right in the heart of the country originally. I did my training. I went back home. I was so laid back. I'm a very laid back guy, but I started I was auditioning and I was making these crazy train journeys or coach journeys to do auditions in London. And one of the guys I was at college with said, "Look, there's a fantastic agency called Dancers. I'm going along. Do you want to join me?" So I went along to that one. I'd made some preliminary sort of contacts with agents, but this was a very good dance agent, and I went along with him, and they really took a shine to me. So I came out like Tigger, bouncing on springs, thinking, wow, because these guys did a fantastic array of jobs. And they were the ones ultimately that got me the audition for Batman. So yeah, you're quite right, Ben. You need an agent. It's different than being an actor because an actor will have sole management,
Yeah.
but a dancer can have several agents so long as you're straight up with them and you say, look, so and so sent me for this or whatever, so they don't get perturbed by that. But yeah, so I had a number of agents who were sending me for great auditions and things, and then the Batman thing came along, which was amazing.
Now, what got you into dance originally? What made you say, "Oh, I want to do that"? Like, what made you gravitate to that?
Yeah, I loved, I mean, very fortunate. My late parents loved all the old Hollywood movies, and I was introduced to Gene Kelly, Fred Astaire, the Nicholas brothers, Gregory Hines, all these fantastic people.
Yeah.
I'd seen amazing ballet dancers like Nureyev, Mikhail Baryshnikov, Peter Schaufus, all these great people. And also alongside the dance was that I love music so much. I mean, that, like you, we've spoken about Tears for Fears, but I've been seeing amazing bands and performers throughout my life, and music is that passion with me. And
Same.
so the combination, if you like, of the music, and also I was playing drums. I was very interested in drumming.
Oh, very cool.
Yeah, still am, and seen a lot of my heroes, a lot of the greats. So all those combinations, Michael Jackson, of course, had to be in there. The Jacksons, Prince, amazing movers. How they could move, and that's just that kind of fizz, that excitement, that electricity that they emitted, through their music. And so you would kind of go through some of those moves. Even we did Thriller at college. And I think we did a really good job of actually doing like for like almost, because we had a guy at college who was very similar looking to Michael Jackson. In fact, his family, not quite the dynasty of the Jacksons, but they were a very talented family. They're called the Pearson family, and they
I
were
got.
a
Did he look like Michael, Black Michael or White
yeah.
Michael? Black Michael.
Um, no, more Black Michael. I mean, he, as I say, they were a band called Five Star in the
Okay.
UK, and they had a lot of great success. And so you can imagine if there's somebody like a lead who is immersed in Michael Jackson's look and his moves, then he's
Yeah.
going to be able to say, look, this we'll do this blow by blow, we'll do Thriller. And I say we had a very good standard at college. So I think we did a really good job of taking off Thriller. But yeah, so those ingredients, if you like, loving the old Hollywood movies, the Judy Garland, Donald O'Connor, Gene Kelly, as I say, Fred Astaire, Sid
Yeah.
Cerise, Rita Hayworth, all those kind of things, just gave me that love of that showbiz, if you like, as well, and how the production values were there in the numbers, the choreography. I mean, we even did some Busby Berkeley type choreography in some of the jobs that I did as well. So we kind of honoured his tremendous legacy, and yeah, that's so the drumming, and then it just led into, you know what, I started taking lessons just locally, and then it was a case, well, in order to do this as a career, you've got to go off and get more training.
Yeah.
So that's when I went to, just outside London, and did this 3-year course in all aspects of dance.
And was acting always kind of in the back of your mind, like you had the desire to
Yeah,
get on the
yeah.
screen?
Well, in many ways, I think, and I still, don't rule it out, because I think even right from a child, I know you do the play acting as a child, but I think I was always one of these. I took it more seriously, that if I had a costume, it had to be the real deal. So I remember one time I was playing a Native American, and I said to my mum, look, it's no good me just having the costume. I have to have the war paint on as well. I have to have everything. She even had a towel that looked part of that kind of, that it had been made. It had that sort of organic look to it. So I was always someone who took it very serious in terms of commitment, and also like to play to the gallery, so
Yeah.
any chance I had to do something. And I wrote sketches at college as well. I mean, great American series I used to love was Rowan and Martin's Laughing, and with all the great guests that were on that show.
Was that the
And
one with Dean Martin? Dean Martin was on that.
it probably was. I mean, I think they were all on it at one time. I mean, again, I was very fortunate that I saw the Andy Williams sort of shows, and all these different things that were coming out of America that I love. And yeah, any chance, as well as the British humour, any chance that I could write or do anything like that, I did with a buddy at college, and we then performed them in the college shows. But yes, I've never lost that love of acting. I've had some small parts as well, some speaking parts in various things, and I was always getting pipped at the post. That was the frustrating thing, that musicals. I wasn't a huge fan of musicals unless they were something like West Side Story, Chorus Line, real sort of strong dance musicals, that kind of thing. But I was getting very close to getting lead parts in some of these musicals, and various things, Sondheim, whatever. And I think it was always there in me that I wanted to do more acting, definitely.
That's
Yes.
great.
But the dance was something that just was naturally there. It happened, and then of course you tend to focus on that. But I've never lost that love for acting, and would never say no, if there was an opportunity.
That's fantastic. So I guess my next question is, since you started having jobs like that lined up, you were doing that type of work through the '80s, you were getting commercial work. What was the last gig you worked on before Batman, and what was the jumping off point to getting on board with Batman?
Wow, I'm trying to remember what the last job was actually now. I
But
think
that had to have been
yes,
the
no, in actual fact, yeah, no, in actual fact, what it was I was doing a filming job at Pinewood. So, as a dancer, you would be asked to do all manner of genres, all manner of styles. So I was with a group of other dancers there, and we were doing, I believe, a film, for a very famous actor here called Robert Lindsay. And I remember one of the girls, one of the ladies said, I've seen Jerry Hall. I said, wow, that's great, and then we sort of spoke about what was going on there. And then the next thing I know, I'm sort of there myself, in the big movie, and it's just that surreal how the world works in that way that you can be there one
yeah.
minute, and I was doing some ballroom dancing, and then the next minute I was Batman, so quite a leap, quite a leap from that
So,
one.
so, so you were working on a project at Pinewood. You were there. You were familiar with the area. And then
Yes.
what was the day it went from not being involved to being involved? Like, what was the actual like did you was there quite a lengthy like audition process? Did someone just say, "Hey, you're the right size. You have the athletic background." How was that? Like, how was the audition and the onboarding?
Yeah, that's a very good question. I'd had this initial, I think, really with the brief, the agent knew that I was the right height, and also the right sort of build, very athletic. And so that was there in the brief. And then I went along to see Derek Cracknell, the first assistant, but I got this slightly confused, I know, in previous podcasts, and I think it's lovely how you put this across in the sense that it was a bit longer than I thought. That when I initially went for this part,
Mhm.
a little bit more time elapsed before I then got a second phone call. So I think what it was that they were perhaps going through some of the mechanics that they'd already got there at Pinewood with the first stunt guy
Mhm.
and various things, and then they were perhaps biding their time. So I think, if I'm not mistaken, filming started in October, sort of mid late October, and then I came in sort of more mid November,
Oh, cool.
mid late November. So yeah, it was a little bit more time because I thought initially when I went, it went so well with the interview and what
Mhm.
I told them I could do. And then you put that out of your mind because there's lots of other things going on. But then I happened to then get that second phone call,
Wow.
which was then the sort of real, emphasis then. But it was weird because you kind of think about an audition and everything else, what would have been asked of you. But I suppose Tim just knew from looking, just from looking and seeing you in the suit. I mean, if you'd have been absolutely awful, then he would have known straight away. But I think he knew pretty much immediately because I was with another guy. I think they'd narrowed it right down, and I got in this suit, and it just felt so perfect for me. I just thought, wow, this fits me like a glove.
Mhm.
Um, I don't feel kind of restrained or inhibited. I just sort of threw myself around, jumping, whatever I could do. But I think there was a thing that Tim just knew from the physical look, the
Mhm.
way I moved, the way I moved the cape, and how I looked in it. That you don't know this yourself. You feel great yourself, but you're quietly confident. I think that's the thing. You don't want your mind to run away from you and
Yeah.
then get terribly disappointed. It's not being negative. It's just being a realist to say, look, just be cool. Just take your time. Um, but then when they said yes, we want you to stay, that's when it all started to
Wow.
happen.
That is beyond
Well,
exciting.
Yeah, I mean, it's like beyond your wildest dreams, isn't it? Because like Mickey Mouse, I mean, Batman is pop culture, isn't it? Is someone that's always been there, and to be playing someone who is, I mean, I love Superman as well, of course, but someone I grew up with through the
Mhm.
Adam West side,
Yeah.
but just loving everything about him, and this new take was just so unique. I mean, it's this dark sort of brooding, like the comic books, just took it to another level completely. So
Oh yeah.
I was, yeah,
It's
and
interesting to hear
I've
you
been on.
say. I apologize. It's interesting to hear you say that you were comfy in the suit because at first glance in some of the interviews I've seen, it seems like it was, very stiff and very, kind of a cumbersome suit in some ways. But it sounds like for you, it was a pretty, comfy suit. So that's interesting to hear.
Yeah, I think there's been a lot of conjecture over, this kind of restriction, and I think for me, I just get on with it. I just take it all on board that the suit felt amazing anyway, all the different elements, the belt, when you got a solid metal clasp to sort of put that belt together,
Mhm.
that felt amazing in its own way. And then just all those various elements going on. So when you got the cape, and I would have just been there for hour and hour on end. It just wouldn't have bothered me, I mean, when they took me off and said, right, Carl, we need to do some publicity, some photographs of you in it. I thought, wow, just another day or another however many hours in that suit, just doing my thing. Just where do you want the cape? Do you want me to? It's just so exciting for me, such a thrill. So yeah, it's only at the very, very end where your body starts to say, "Oh my word, that's been one tough gig." But
Yeah.
but prior to that, it's just nothing. The adrenaline, the excitement, everything is just wonderful.
That's amazing. I do have a couple additional questions about the suit. Since because you were billed as a movement double, correct? But
Yes.
you also technically are a stunt performer because some of the stuff you did was incredibly dangerous. But
Yes.
did you have special shoes? I know Michael Keaton had the like the Air Jordans. Did you
Yeah.
wear the exact same shoes?
Exactly. Exact same shoes. Yeah.
You
Yeah.
shared shoes.
Yeah. I
Interesting.
mean, I know how fantastic those shoes are, but I still needed to be so secure in myself because on that rooftop, that on that Axis Chemical rooftop, you've
Yeah.
got you've got elements there which are still going to challenge you. And I'm so glad you've mentioned this, Ben, because I was really stunts as well. They
Absolutely.
were highly dangerous, some of those things.
I mean, just looking at the scenes that you were in, I'm like, holy crap! Like that's
Yeah,
some of those are
yeah.
scary. Yeah.
Yeah, especially on that rooftop. And I think the thing was that just proved how assured they were for using me because this thing about the politics on movies where I'm that type of person to ever cross the line and cause any disruption or whatever. But
Mhm.
you know with a stunt coordinator, they can have their sort of say, and say, well, look, Carl's not actually on the register. We might have to use Sean, who was a bona fide stunt guy. But it shows the assurance that they had in me to say, well, nobody can really move like Carl. We need Carl to do this. So
Yeah.
I just thought, well, what, I'll do it. But it was going through my mind that that was highly dangerous and no safety. So, but
It looked incredibly dangerous, but it had the effect. I mean, it's Batman. He has no
it's
fear.
Batman. Yes,
Yeah.
yeah, and I think the great thing with lots of things in life is you overcome those challenges, those obstacles, if you like, within reason. I mean, you're not going to throw yourself off a cliff, but if you know in yourself that you have the capacity to do it, but you're also intelligent enough to work it out so that it will still be incredibly effective, but you won't go over the edge. You have to have a sort of a safety line there.
Yeah.
But I just found that incredible because it took me to a whole new level within myself. And
Absolutely.
I'm
Yeah.
grateful for that as well, to be able to say, well, look, that it's never really been done in any other movie, has it? This is the thing. And I think it set the precedent, didn't it,
It
with the
did.
movie anyway as a whole, but I think certainly with the movement language that, you can have these great actors that are playing the lead, but it's not a case about just going to the gym and doing all of that. You've got to have the mobility, the fluidity, and know how to make that costume work. So it's just an extension of you rather than that suit taking over of you. You're in
Absolutely.
control of that suit. Yeah.
Absolutely. Now, Carl, I had just like two more questions about the suit. Not to harp on the suit too much, but it's just fascinating to me.
No.
Um, okay, question one. How was the cape when it was kind of more like wings, when it was more like, wings being extended and then coming back
Yes.
down? Like, how was the functionality of that? And then transferring back to it being a cape? And then what did the utility belt have any actual function, or was it just more just for the look of the belt? Did it actually have any
Yes.
functionality when you were wearing it?
Yeah. Well, with the cape, it was so clever that we had these rods that we could put in,
Uh-huh.
so that we could give it that real bat wing sort of look to it,
Yeah.
and that gave a more solid shape. So that we had the facility, and I could also have these small handles that were also nicely hidden
Yeah.
along sort of the curves, if you like, of the cape. But yeah, that gave it that incredible shape, and it was a case of getting this timing, and then other times that could be taken out, so that like the swishing
Mhm.
elements in the bell tower and on the Axis Chemical rooftop, those kind of things, and for also
Mhm.
getting into the Batmobile, they could be taken out to
Okay.
give it that pure kind of flexibility and no hindrance then with those particular movements. But
So was it the same cape every time? Like the scenes where it's like where you're extending them, would it be, once they took the rods out, it was the exact same cape you'd be walking and swishing around in?
yeah, I mean, I people have asked me about it must have been a shorter cape for when you got into the car, but I was so in the zone about getting everything so smooth and slick that I never really sort of stood back and say, hang on a minute, this is 6 inches shorter or whatever. I just was
Yeah.
so in the zone with the moment of what was being asked of me. But I think there was some variation possibly in the length. I never really sort of saw it straight away, as I say, because I was so into the character. But with the utility belt, that was very much the aesthetics on that one.
Hmm.
There was a test I did with John Evans, the special effects supervisor, fantastic guy, and we did this test where he had the gizmo on the belt. It was motorized, and I sort of moved the cape, and this gizmo, which was the batarang really, kind of came along the belt, and then
That's
I took it off and threw it. And I don't know whether that actually made it into the movie, but that was just again, it was like a combination of Batman and Bond, James Bond, with the
yeah.
gadgets. uh, John and that team have, they've worked on Bond and all those great movies themselves, so they've got that experience. But that was
That's
so cool, But Michael had obviously the various gadgets, didn't he, that were there. But for me, it was very much the belt that was just there that I just clumped together, and that you could see that when I did the documentary as well.
very cool.
Making of a hero, yeah. So that was just that clunking of the bell, but yes, more for aesthetics.
That's awesome. And now, do you have? I've seen, a few specific scenes of you in the film where it's like we know that's you. You're doing your thing. You're Batman. Do you have any particular scenes that are your favorites that you worked on? It's like, do you have any ones that maybe aren't as popular, but they have a little more meaning to you, like behind the scenes or anything like that?
Yeah, wow. I mean, I love them all for different reasons, as you can imagine. And the bell tower was the busiest scene for me. You know, emerging from the bat wing and all of that. And I think the editing is, as we know, is so seamless and so clever
Hmm.
on lots of movies, especially on Batman. You know, so when I'm coming through the trapdoor. You know, and that was, I think, that whole sort of sequence then moving around because it's really on you then. That camera is you're not just walking a little bit, you're sort of moving around and rotating and you've got that sense of urgency and also awareness. That's one of my favorites scenes, you know, really in the movie is when I'm sort of aware of the henchmen, you know, the goons, and I then Lawrence is trying to get me and I'm do the swirling of the cape. Um, but I mean, what like you say, with the behind the scenes, I found I was sent a photograph just recently, actually, which is me without the cowl on, and I'm drinking a mug of tea, and I'm sort of looking at my. You see that one? I'm looking at my face, and I'm thinking, oh, my eyes look a little bit sleepy there. But I was thinking, well, I've probably done a sort of a 10, 12 hour day. It's been very brutal, and I'm not looking too bad, all things considered, you know, with the fact that that's happened. But
Could have some residual eyeliner too, right?
exactly. But there was a lot of great behind the scenes in the sense of the camaraderie and the fact that I had this relationship which was very close with wardrobe and costume. And but yeah, that's one of my favorite scenes. But I think also the Axis chemical for the danger to accomplish something that was fraught with so much,
Yeah.
but I was able to bring. I wanted really, Ben, to be able to do even more running and flying. You know, I suppose
Yeah.
they had to limit that to a degree, but I think, you know, there was one scene that Michael did, which I wish I could have done. And a lot of people said you should have done it, which is when he gets out of the Batmobile with Vicky Vale and he runs down the alleyway.
Yeah.
You know, they were like my fortes was running because I was a sprinter as well and a long jumper. But the
Oh wow.
sprinting, yeah, but you know, you can't have everything. I mean, it's not me being greedy. It's me just wanting to
Of course. Yeah.
showcase my skills, you know. But yeah,
Of course. And of course, I'm sure it was so much fun too in the moment as well. It's like you're probably giddy just, being
yeah,
Batman.
you
But
are, and you are. I think the thing was as well that there was so, as we know, there was so much hype, wasn't there? And
yeah.
we were getting visitors from all over the world, and there were times when I was meeting people, and they were saying, "Oh, this is Carl," and these sort of fans or people they were dizzy as well. They were like, "Wow, this is." They just couldn't quite believe it that they were on this set, this very famous set, and that this movie was being made. And even myself, what I loved, you know, was I had a little bit of free time. So I said to Wardrobe, look, I won't be too far. I'll just have a walk around. And I just strolled around the corner, and then Timothy Dalton is walking along, and then Cubby Broccoli sort of swung in his Rolls Royce, you know, his vintage Rolls Royce or whatever. And it was just that wonderful, you know, buzz of the people that were there and the history of what had been made
Very
there. And
surreal. Very surreal, I would
yeah,
imagine.
and then you were hearing about people that were trying to get in or had been in. You know, there was lots of pop celebrities and film celebrities that were making the visits, and other people trying to, as you know, they were trying to get these scoops, these stories and these photographs boss if they could. But the
Wow.
whole thing was just mind blowing. You know, the excitement, the electricity there.
It seems like it. What was your first impression of seeing the Batmobile for the first time in person? And did you get to drive it at any point?
Oh well, I couldn't believe it when I saw that. I mean, the whole design. It's a design that just appeals to me so much. I mean, I can appreciate the Tumbler and subsequent ones. And the Adam West Batmobile was cool when I was growing up, but that just had that real muscular,
Hmm.
incredible quality to it. And I was hearing about the design and what it was based on and all these different things. And
The first time you
just
did you see it as a picture, or was it just the first time you saw it, it was right there in front of you?
yeah, I saw it in the flesh. Yeah, saw it in the flesh. Yeah,
Cool.
because I had to walk out and sort of stop it, in that scene where Michael does the close up at the end where he just says stop. But so I had that vision of it. I'd seen it before. I jumped into it, of course. Really so wish I could have driven it, but I think because of the insurance
Makes
and
sense.
those politics, yeah, they wouldn't let me do that, which was a real shame. But I did very much everything else,
That's very
had
cool.
photographs by it, jumped into it, etc.
Yeah. And you
And it
had
was
that
like
whole
the
great
Batman.
photo
I mean,
shoot as well, that whole great photo shoot of you that was used for so many promos and
so,
magazines where it's you with the Batmobile, and so cool.
so lucky. I mean, these are your wildest dreams again. I mean, because I love photography and I've admired and still do photography, and someone like Herb Ritts, when you've got a genius like him who just has that ability to know exactly how it's going to work and the setup involved, etc., with the lighting. But yeah, that was just so incredible. As I say, like with the Batwing, that the Batwing also had that wow factor, like the
Hmm.
Batmobile. So when I first saw the Batwing on a soundstage and it was on hydraulics and I had to do all the functions, that was also surreal because
I,
it's like the
yeah,
biggest, best toy ever, isn't it?
yeah, that's totally unbelievable.
Just and that's when Prince came in as well, which was another surreal moment when
Oh yeah,
I
because
was
he
there.
did the soundtrack, Party Man, and all that.
Yeah, well, I did these pickup shots and I couldn't believe it because I was right there and then he came in and I was so close to him and I just literally wanted to break the ice in a nice way because I wanted to say in a nice way, look, I'm a dancer, and I thought maybe there was an opportunity there that, he might sort of say, oh, wow, do a video. You never know, do you? You
Never
don't,
know. Yeah.
how do you know anything if you don't speak to someone? But he just didn't seem to want to be talking. So I let it be. I just let it be.
Was it just one of those where it was, you know, all being a fan of him and his artistry aside and everything, in that moment, did he come across a little rude, just like in that moment?
Yeah, just maybe. I always think it's such a shame in life when you can't have a little bit of time for someone because you're not really asking the world. All you're asking is just a little bit of conversation, which is not really prohibited because of anything else. It's not like there was a whole room of fans
Hmm.
or there was any kind of pressure on him. It was a very relaxed situation where the crew were there
Yeah.
getting ready and then they'll be filming. So there was no real sort of major pressure on him. But I did find it strange that he couldn't have uttered a few words.
It's a little odd. Yeah, it's
A little odd, isn't it? Yeah,
a little
and
strange. But
it's very strange, but to
man,
people, isn't it?
what's Prince up to these days, right? No, I'm kidding. But sorry, too soon, too soon. Um, but so as far as kind of on that note, all the great people you got to work with, who were some of your favorites? You got to work with Tim Burton directly. Obviously, you were
Oh,
working day to day with Michael Keaton. Did
yeah.
you have much interaction with Nicholson as well? I'd imagine you had
Yeah,
cross.
yes, I did. All
Yeah.
of them really, and Kim as well, and Yeah, I love them all, to be honest with you. I mean, Tim, I had the most interaction with because he's the main director and he's the main man in that sense. He's orchestrating everything. But no, I there was times when I would be in a social environment with Michael, in a more relaxed setting where we could talk, we could listen, um, before you were filming or doing anything.
Hmm.
Kim didn't know too much about me at the very, very beginning, but then once she knew what I was about, then it was a completely different thing, and we got on great. And of course, Jack was this, larger than life, someone I'd always admired right from a very young age,
Yeah.
and to work with someone like him was mind blowing. But he was great, and I took my time with him so that I respect people's privacy and space, and I wait for the right moment to for those sort of barriers to come down or the ice to be broken. So and he was just great with me. He was a real character in so many ways. I mean, it's just hilarious, really. And then the nickname, of course, came about, and
Well,
he was also very.
look over there. It's the ballet bat. There he is. You getting sweaty in there, Carl?
Oh, he was coming out with some of those lines, especially with the ladies, as you can imagine, around the set. Yeah, and
That's
it's
amazing.
just so cool. I mean, it's just brilliant.
That's so cool. What was your first interaction with Nicholson? Like the very first time you saw him, going from, fan of, seeing him on movies and everything growing up to, oh, I'm working with Jack today. Like how was that like initial interaction? Because I know I've worked on a few sets, nothing to the scale of yours, but I've worked on a few, indie movies and stuff where it's like, I remember meeting Eric Roberts, and I remember it was kind of the same type of thing where I was like, I'm gonna wait until there's a little gap and things kind of settle down, and then I'll talk to him. And I remember when it was the appropriate time, it was like, okay, cool, and then go have a conversation. So I'm sure it was kind of that type of thing, but probably scaled up quite a bit with Nicholson and Keaton and people like that. So how was that like initial introduction? How did all that go?
Yeah, well, I was very, very lucky that I was able to watch quite a lot of the filming. If it was appropriate, which it was most of the time, that I wouldn't be in anyone's way or anything like that. But I would watch some of his scenes anyway. And I
Mhm.
think maybe the first time I met him was in more of a social setting.
Okay.
Really, was at a party. Yeah, I seem to remember, and that was really, really cool as well. And then um, it's just a lot of the time, like with Michael, I could because it interchanged with us, I might be able to watch a bit of Michael's stuff, and then Michael would go, and then I would do stuff as well.
Mm.
And I think it was just the same with Jack. I mean, the major thing was in that bell tower, where we had more time together in the same proximity, and I remember that we had drinks together, and we had some conversation, and that it was a very pivotal sort of scene because it was this stalking element, and
Mm.
whilst I I was sort of a little bit hidden, and then you would see me, that sort of surprise element, but it was kind of choreographed in that way, how it would happen. But he was so welcoming, and so I mean, he was really, really thrilled with how it was all working.
Yeah.
That was a great thing. So when you're getting that positivity and that encouragement, that support from someone like him,
Hmm.
then that also makes you feel incredible, doesn't it?
That's
So he
fantastic.
wasn't one of the, you know, it was very giving. He wasn't someone who just sort of, that's you're you and I'm me and that's it sort of thing. He was, he was very obliging, very accommodating, very supportive.
That's amazing. You wouldn't hit a guy with glasses, would you? uh, so good. But
Yeah.
how about Danny Elfman? Did you ever, beyond, like anything?
No, I never got to see Danny. I mean, there's people that I really wish I'd have had the opportunity to see them, and Danny was one of them. Then I saw Danny just very briefly at the music of Tim Burton that he attended at the Royal Albert Hall here, which I
Ooh,
was there. And I
I
just
bet
saw
that was
him.
incredible.
That was amazing. Saw him briefly there. I was hoping to have more of a chat with him, but Jack Palance was another one I really wanted to meet
Yeah,
because
icon. Yeah,
yeah, an icon. He was someone that my late parents really enjoyed, his movies. Again, I saw some of them and thought it was amazing. But it's just the timing sometimes, isn't it? How the logistics are,
yeah.
where they are, and they're
And
probably then
forget
released,
sometimes you
you know.
forget on a film like that. I mean, there's hundreds and hundreds of people working on those, and there's so many moving parts, like you said. So,
Yes.
yeah, sometimes you don't get to cross paths with everybody, but the people you did cross paths with and work directly with, unreal. I mean, talk about a resume. I mean, that's crazy.
Oh, I mean, just the likes of Bob Ringwood as well, and Vin, just this family really, which is what it was, where again, I would be in the movie, but then I would be with them, and I would go to social things with them or I'd be around them. And I think that was the thing with with Jack. I could see him. Or the other thing as well is that you tend to forget is on breaks, if you're having meal breaks and then the catering comes in and then everybody's milling around having their egg and bacon or very healthy egg and sausage
Yeah,
perhaps or whatever, and the guys would be there or Kim, and you're all around there together, so it's not like you're standing in a different room away from it all. It's all unfolding in
yeah.
front of your eyes, and I think that's what I loved as well was the social thing that was there as well, where you were dining, you were chatting, and then once the breaks were over, it was back to filming and stuff. But it
When
was
you
it
would
was
take
all happening.
when you would take breaks for lunch or do crafty breaks or anything like that, would you not entirely take the suit off? Would you sit in the suit and like eat your lunch, like take the mask off, and would Nicholson
Yeah,
sit with
yeah,
his Joker makeup and eat with the Joker makeup? Because I'm assuming it takes so long to put that on. Did
yeah.
you ever sit across from the Joker in your Batman outfit and eat lunch together? You know?
Well, yeah. I mean, there were elements where because we filmed in the winter as well. It was very cold, and I remember I had a ski suit, or I could have some kind of coat over me, and so yes, the cowl would be off, but you would have the suit on, and I remember going to inside for catering, and I was all made up with the Batwing crash, and so I've got all the facial wounds and the black eyes and everything else, and just going into to catering to have that, and it's just it's no one gets fazed by it. It's all just normal, and the same thing with Jack or Kim. They would have their costume on to some degree, and then they would have a coat over to sort of protect them a bit as well. And yeah, so you were in the
That's
same
great.
area.
That's just a
Yeah, which
funny like that's something I'd like to see more behind the scenes of, like things like that. Just all right, well, I'm having a turkey sandwich. I'm in the car. But I love that. I love those little details. Now, not to harp too much on the rest of the cast, but I just out of sheer curiosity, is there anyone that you still keep in touch with, or that you bumped into in the last few years, where you're still friendly with each other from the production?
yeah, I mean, I'm very friendly with Vin, who sculpted the cow. Bob, um, I've been sort of in contact a little bit through social media. I'd love to see him again, and I'm trying desperately to arrange something with him actually. But certainly Vin, the two Batsuit Wranglers, Day and Todd, um, I've been in touch with quite regularly, and also Peter McDonald, the
Oh, cool.
second unit director as well.
That's
Yeah,
very
in
cool.
terms of him. Yeah. Can you believe I was just a few rows away from Michael Keaton when he came over. They'd been filming for Beetlejuice, and he came and did a Q&A. There was a double feature, and he was there, and I was so close to him, and I was thinking I should have stood up, but me being the gentleman, I thought I better not cause a scene. But I just wanted to see him and talk to him, and he came in a little bit later. His time seemed to be very short, so I missed that opportunity. And then when I went to the Danny Elfman concert, Tim was there as well,
Oh, cool.
and I'd rushed a message to the security to say, look, I worked on the movie. They know me, Tim know. I'd love to see them, but I got so close and then just missed out, which was a real shame.
Well, there might be other opportunities. You never know. I mean, obviously they're going to remember you. Obviously, so it's like, you never know. There might be another opportunity where you guys could cross paths again.
Yeah, I believe so. I believe I'm getting so close now that, the surreal thing about this is that me being me, I did this job. I absolutely loved it beyond anything you can ever imagine. But
Hmm.
I just kind of put it away, and then you carry on with all the other things in life,
Hmm.
make the most, and I'm going on to other jobs and things. But then with the resurgence, it's like people are so even more fascinated because they didn't really. There were a number of people that knew about me, but there was a great proportion as well that didn't. And
Yeah.
then when they look at it and they think, well, actually, you were embedded in that movie. You did so much, and you did some choreography. You taught the goons how to do mime in that Vinnie Ricorso assassination scene. So there's elements like that I was involved in as well. But I think what I'm finding is it's just taking it to a whole new level that um, I've got great communication with Michael Uslan as well, and hoping that more things will come about.
Absolutely. And there's no reason why not. It's like, you guys work together, you have such a great history. One thing you should consider doing, not that I should be giving any advice, but maybe shoot off an email to Tim Burton, shoot off an email to Michael Keaton or to their representatives, and just say hello, just catch up. You know what I mean? It's like
Yes,
because sometimes
yeah,
life
that's
is
a
short.
great.
Sometimes you regret those things, like, oh, I should have reached out to somebody, or I should have reached out to someone, and sometimes as time goes on, it's like that goes away, or God forbid someone passes away or something, and you're like, woulda, coulda, shoulda, so.
Yes,
Um,
that's
that would
very true.
that would be cool to see you guys get back in touch again. Absolutely, but just
Yeah,
just
I'd
throwing it
love
out
that.
there, sure.
I appreciate that. I think that's a great idea, and I kind of
Absolutely.
have tried with Tim, and maybe I had some wrong contact details or something, but
Yeah.
I will certainly go for that again, because I think that is a great idea. It
Yeah,
really
because you
is.
never know, because Tim could be working on other documentaries or things like that that you could be a part of, and I think your history and your involvement is too important for it to not
To,
continue. You know what I mean?
yes, yeah. No, I
Yeah.
mean, I do feel that there's unfinished business in that sense,
Yeah.
and I've got my first convention now
Oh,
in
well, that's very
October.
exciting.
Yeah, which has been something I've been working very hard at getting. Because I want to also do these
Uh,
Q&A as well.
I'm
You
sorry
know,
to cut you off. Which convention is it going to be?
so this one will be a Toy and Comic Con in St. Louis in Missouri. So that's in October the 20th. Yeah.
Oh, that is
So
incredible. That's a whole nother like realm to get into as far as fanfare and connecting with
yes,
people and everything. That's incredible.
yeah, I'm really, really excited because we can't give too much away at the minute, but there's some amazing plans for that one. So I
That's
think
fantastic.
I think it will be never done before. Let's say in the greatest sense that what we're offering. So
That is
very,
incredible.
very excited.
Yeah, well,
Yeah.
good luck with that. That is a whole
Thank you very much.
new
Yeah.
chapter right there. That's incredible.
And then there's, that I can't say again, but there's talk of some other things potentially, which will be incredibly exciting for the fans and for us as well. That's what I'm working towards. That's soon as well. So yeah, it's all taking off, and I just want it to continue.
That's excellent. Yeah, and that's unbelievable. I'm gonna move on to some of my other questions here. Make sure I get everything while I have your time. I know your time is valuable. I wanted to hear your thoughts. One more question about that, actually, about the job. You said you moved on to other
Yes.
careers after Batman. That was something I was kind of curious about. What was the rest of your professional career like beyond Batman? What was your career like in the 90s, early 2000s? Like, um,
Yes.
what was the potential for involvement, with Batman Returns and Forever? What was your, thought process on, potentially working on those and deciding not to work on those? And what else did you get into at that point in time in your life? Like what did you move on to work on?
Yeah, well, it was very weird that when I'd done the '89 movie, that I'd gone up to see a lot of casting directors, people, and there was this, it sounds surreal for me to say it, but there was this disbelief that I was just making this up because at that time it was the biggest movie since Star Wars,
Yeah.
Batman '89. We know what the mania was like, and we know how much money it garnered and everything. But there was this crazy sort of belief or disbelief with directors that is he really just making this? That's what I couldn't understand.
That's
I really could not, and it's weird, isn't it? I don't know why that mentality was there.
huh.
Um, but I went up for some big stuff. I went to meet Danny Cannon that did Judge Dredd, and I went up for a part in that. We seemed to get on very, very well, and that didn't materialize. Sadly, I went up for the Tom Cruise, Nicole Kidman Eyes Wide Shut, the Stanley Kubrick.
Wow.
They toing and froing with me. First of all, I was up for a small part cameo with Nicole Kidman, the Marine, I believe it was, yeah. And then they were looking at me for being a dancer in that. And I went several times. It was one of those weird times, if you like, where I was so primed and ready after that movie. I'd had a good holiday. I was all rested and raring to go. And I was working steadily anyway. I was doing lots of television again. I was going abroad and doing these big shows in
Mhm.
Germany and around Europe. Never stopped really working in that sense. I was also concentrating on trying to get a record deal with a band. I was the drummer in this band, and we had a really good songwriter. And then there was talk that one of the labels was very interested in signing us, and then
What
so there
was
was
the
a
name?
lot of the
What was the name of the
oh,
band called?
you know what? I'm trying to remember the name of the band now because I did also I'll extend on this. I joined a band called Somewhere in Between. I joined a band in Australia because I went to live there for 2.5 years.
Oh, cool.
Um, but the name's just eluding me at the moment. But very, very talented singer-songwriter anyway. But then, as we know with these things, so difficult, so competitive, you
Yeah.
know. But I was totally immersed. So I'd be doing, as I say, these some of the top choreographers in this country. Guy that did Mamma Mia and all kinds of stuff. Anthony Van Last, who worked with Kim, funny enough, on one of the Bond movies. I worked with him several times, and we took a show originally from Barcelona to Germany. And then I was doing the band and stuff. So I was constantly busy doing all of that. And then I reached a point where I was getting a bit frustrated with things. The scene was changing.
Hmm.
Equity, the union. I know you've had the similar thing in the States with the writers and you know
Yeah.
this kind of difficulty there with wages and salaries and stuff. We
Yeah.
were getting a similar thing happening with equity in the UK. I mean, I got a huge commercial for America for Mercedes Benz,
Oh,
and
cool.
you never went into it. I never went into it for the money. But you know, as a dancer, it's nice if you get a well-paid job because you think, well, that can then help you through any leaner periods or any rejections or whatever might have happened.
Absolutely.
Um, Ordinarily, that job would have been a massive paycheck, and it was still quite good. But they said to my agent said to me, "Look, Carl, they this is the deal." And I said, well, look, I really want to do that job because that's fantastic. And I played the 1950s racing driver, and I
Huh.
used the Gullwing Mercedes, you know, which was incredible to drive that.
Yeah.
So yeah, so I was doing all these different things, and then it got to a point where, as I say, I got frustrated. I was with a lady. She was Australian, but from an Italian heritage as well, so she could have the dual passport situation. And she said, "Look, I've done a lot of traveling. I've been working all around the world. I'm going to go back home." And I said, "Well, look, you know what? I'll join you." So I went with her to Australia, and I then got quite a bit of work out there in TV and sort of commercial work. I played with another band out there.
Cool.
That went really, really well. I did some choreography out there as well for commercials.
Very
Um,
nice.
and then I came back and felt very disorientated because I was living in London and then I'd gone to Perth, which the West Coast was a lot sleepier at that time than the East Coast, so
Yeah.
much quieter scene. But then I'd gone back to where I originated from, so it was so surreal and disorientated. And then I got a massive job in London, which was a sort of an acting PR publicity thing, which was to put a family in Harrods Windows, the famous department store in London in
Yeah.
Knightsbridge.
Yeah.
I auditioned acting throughout, and I got it out the whole of the country that I got this part to play the father
Wow.
of this fictional family that would showcase this amazing technology to the world's media. And it was for LG Electronics. And that was just another amazing job because I was giving press conferences to, you know, like 60 journalists, and we had news and TV crews, radio and TV crews from all over the world that came in because
And
it
did
was
those
the
have did those have accompanying commercials, or was that all like for promo events, or how was that? How did that work?
Yeah, so the idea was that they wanted this fictional family to actually be living in this space. So we had about four of the main windows in Harrods, and they had webcams. We had all special Italian design furniture. We had all the various lifestyle, if you like, the kitchen and then the living room, etc., etc. And the idea was that by showcasing this technology to the world, it was saying, look, you know, this we had a fridge that had an internet capacity to it, so the fridge could talk to the plasma TV that was around at that time, and the air conditioning and the washing machine. So it had never been seen before. I mean, even I think in New York they'd had maybe an actor in the window or maybe a mime artist, but for something I think like what we did, it was very unique. And the guy that directed it, Dan Milne, he'd come off the back of doing a play in New York. So it was a very rigorous audition where I had to improvise a lot of sketches with the family members.
That's cool.
But what was so cool was like Batman was that you know, we had these celebrities coming in to the windows, so we would do challenges with those. So great show, I'm sure you've heard of it, Riverdance, the Irish
Hmm.
dancing show that was a sensation around the world with Michael Flatley. Uh, um, we had a couple of the members that came into the windows, and we all danced with them, but I had to do it in hobnail boots and a big wig, So they put extra sort of challenges in there, but great things to do these publicity things with these various stars, celebrities, and
Fun. They
just
sound like
throw
they
it,
were a fun time.
yeah, throw it out there to the media. And I was then buzzing with that, chomping at the bit to go and do whatever. And again, it sort of hit a bit of a brick wall that I was writing to the TV crews in South Africa or Paris or whatever and saying, look, love to do more. But of course, they were seemed to be consigned to that. And then that was it. But I did another big live event from that for a very successful TV show in England called what was about called Tomorrow's World, which was a sort of a technology show, very, very good show. And we did that on the road, if you like, but one of these big places like Olympia or Earl's Court in London. But then again, it seemed to just be very stagnant. And I did some broadcasting. I pushed that side of things, enjoyed working on that side. And then
Nice.
I did a completely different thing, which was I grew up on a farm. There's sort of some farming in my sort of lineage, along with creative stuff as well. But I'd grown up on this family farm, which was a few doors from where I was born, where my late father built the family home. And I went there, and what I loved about that was that I was acting almost in a sense that I used to take schools around the farm and educate them on various aspects of husbandry, of the animals or the crops and things, that kind of thing.
Sounds nice.
And then, yeah, I managed a really beautiful farm shop where we had our own meat and we had our own vegetables,
Wow.
and it was lovely through. Well, not nice that we had COVID, but we arranged it so that we got the food to the vulnerable people, and that's another strong thing for me is the ethics in life is looking after one another. So
Absolutely.
who doesn't love a bit of the showbiz, the glory? But I also am very much into nature and the land and those lovely organic things that are there. So
You
that I
sound
felt.
you sound like quite the philanthropist, Mr. Bruce Wayne.
I think it's all there. Yes.
Yeah. Well, that's beautiful. Well, I definitely can appreciate that, and it seems like you have a good heart and you're coming from a good place doing things like that as well.
Yeah, I think it's all about being you. I feel so sorry when these people come unraveled. Where they're on such a high that they need the drugs and the alcohol or whatever. But I mean, I've been around that. I've not been part of it, but I've seen it. Of course, you do. But I think the thing with me is that way of finding my downtime, and music has also been one of those great levelers where you know what it's like. If music can just change your mood in an instant, can't it? You maybe could. I need some classical now, just something calm, and then you might need something you know, more sort of heavy or rhythmic or whatever it might be, all the different types of music. But I
Yeah,
think I find these ways through music and through my love of nature and through traveling. I think it makes you, I like to feel you're like a multifaceted person where you're far better for the enrichment from all these different sources, rather than just doing the one thing.
absolutely. Yeah, it makes you grow as a person, and it enriches your
Yeah.
soul. Not to be cheesy, but it does.
Yeah, it does, doesn't it? And I think because of my love, it's allowed me to meet these incredible musicians that I've grown up with and sort of still now I'm always receptive to anything new or anything that somebody could sort of tell me about or whatever. But yeah, I mean, that's just fantastic when you get that extra as well, when you meet these people and you're able to talk to them.
Yeah,
Um,
100%. Yeah, that's the best. I want to show you something cool. Hold on one second. I almost forgot to show you this. Look at this.
oh, wow. Oh, I love it.
That's from the Robert Pattinson Batman. It's actually, believe it or not, it was actually a popcorn bucket. It was like a
Oh,
limited
that's
edition popcorn.
amazing.
Let me see if I can open it. There we go. Yeah,
Oh, yeah, that's wonderful, isn't it?
but it's like
But
almost the size of my head.
you're made for it.
I
One
thought
thing
you,
I wanted
I
to
thought you'd
say as
appreciate.
well, yeah, one thing I wanted to say was which you mentioned was that about the other films, and I couldn't understand why there wasn't a call to the agent, that my name was there and somebody said, "Oh, look, we're doing," I think with Returns, I don't know whether you know the story. I think there was a strong desire for me to do that, and I think Tim wanted me to do that, but I think along the way something
Hmm.
hindered it, some politics or something.
Yeah, it's weird how
Um,
that happens, but I hadn't heard the story though. No.
no, I was at a rap party. We'd wrapped the movie, and then I was at this fantastic party, and he specifically came over to me and said, "Look, I want to thank you for your great contribution to this movie." And he was so lovely; he was bubbling away.
Hmm.
And then somebody kind of interrupted the conversation, and the moment was lost. But I think it was a case of 2 years had elapsed or whatever. Things happen, don't they? You're not there. Your agent is perhaps on the back seat. They've got other things they're thinking about. If it was a sole representation, it probably would have been different because they
Sure.
were managing lots of different people. But I
Yeah.
don't understand why it never happened with, Batman Forever or whatever. These other movies that I could have come in and
Yeah.
lent my expertise, my experience to it. But as I say, you don't know what the politics
Yeah.
are, what's going on. But Derek Cracknell, the guy that I had the original interview with, he got me on another movie called King Ralph, and
Cool.
I did a special kind of movement sequence for that movie, which was great fun as well. So
Aw.
you know, it does work where people do remember you and promote that,
Oh
but
yeah.
it
Absolutely.
sometimes doesn't seem enough.
But yeah, it is strange how you hit the nail on the head though. I think when you said there's time that elapses and there's a certain momentum that's there, and sometimes it goes away, and sometimes you can catch it, sometimes you don't, and that's just life. But the
It
fact
is.
that you were such a big part of Batman '89 is incredible. I mean, that in itself is more than most people ever get to do in an entire career. So that on its own is incredible.
No, I'm very grateful. I really am for that whole experience, and that feeds me forever, as you can imagine. And when I start seeing this fan art, these homages, and you think, well, that's a whole new level as well, because someone like someone has taken that time and said, you know what, you had an effect on my life. That movie had such an effect on me, and certainly from knowing about you and seeing what you did. And so what they're doing is they're doing this artwork, and I've seen so much, and it's just so stunning, the whole thing, and I'm like, wow, I've got this collection of fan art, and I'm running out of wall space, but it's not a bad thing to have. But just seeing I'm so touched by it, and such incredibly talented people. So
Yeah,
again, that's adding another dimension onto the movie for me, that it's got this as well, this extra.
you're jumping into the convention circuit. You're going to be getting a lot more of that, Carl. You're going to be getting a lot more of that, right? Like, I think you're gonna have to I don't know, get a storage unit for all the Batman art or something. Might have to get a Batcave, maybe a Batcave.
I think that's it.
Yeah. I want to I
Yeah.
wanted to play a little game with you with some of the questions here, if you have time, just fairly quick.
Yes.
But I wanted to hear all your opinions on each of the Batman projects that have been done because I know you're very well versed in Batman. You were Batman, so it's like, how do you feel? Just and it doesn't have to be very long, but just kind of the first things that come to mind, your first feelings, your first impressions. How do you feel about each of these projects, and what do they make you think of? So I'll start with Batman '66, Adam West.
Yeah, well, he was. I really like Adam West. I'm not going to deny that. We know it was a completely different feel. The kitsch, the fun element there. But I think I'm the kind of guy as well. I love variety and I appreciate what it was and the time it was made. I loved all those other actors, Cesar Romero, Burgess Meredith, etc.
Yeah,
I just thought it was great fun. It was tongue in cheek. It was also had the gadgets. So you got the from sliding down the pole, you'd got the bat cave, as we know. You got that lovely red telephone, the car, all the. I know it was fun with the shark repellent, etc., and the kapow. But I loved it. I thought, it was harmless fun. As a child, more things were innocent then. I was. It came out when I was very, very young. I was born 62, so but when I was older, in my teens or whatever, to watch it, I just really appreciated it. I thought it was fun.
yeah, I'm a fan of it too. I think you hit the nail on the head. The supporting cast was so fun. It was so colorful. It didn't take
Yeah,
itself too seriously. It was a comic book brought to life at such a unique time in television. So it definitely has its moments. Like I'm a fan of it for sure.
yeah, yeah, definitely. And I think it's harsh to be critical of that in that way because we know the Burton verse films are completely different and they
Mhm.
set this precedent, with the dark gothic, the brooding, etc. But I think, you respect it for what it was,
Yeah,
and that's the way to look at it.
it's a beautiful time capsule. I think is what
It
it is,
is. It
and
is
it's
absolutely.
fun. It's just very lighthearted and fun.
Yeah.
My other question for you, I'm gonna keep going down all the incarnations of Batman to hear your thoughts. But how about the comic books? Do you have a favorite era of comic books? Are you a comic book collector? What are your thoughts on the Batman comics of any era?
No, I mean, again, I think in those, I'm starting to discover more now. But I think in that sort of era as well, again, I love that. Um, you know, Growing up, as I did with other comics as well, I think there was that you know innocence more and the way it was done. But yeah, subsequently, I've got to experience some of the more recent ones, and I love those as well. Yeah, I would just say it's that I've sort of developed along the way with them. I've not been a collector as such, but I've seen quite a bit anyway to sort of get a feel for things anyway. But I've admired what's been done anyway.
That's awesome. And you said you liked other comic books growing up. If you take Batman out of the equation, if we just say okay, it's established, Batman is a favorite. Aside from that, who are your top favorite superheroes, Marvel or DC? If you had to give me like your top five, let's
Yeah,
say,
I
who are you?
mean, it's definitely got to be Superman, because again, I love the Christopher Reeve, and I've been to some of the locations where it's been filmed, and there's a wonderful museum of the moving image where again they've recreated some of his stuff. Spider-Man, I love.
Of course.
I grew up with the Incredible Hulk,
Oh yeah.
which I loved. Yeah, I mean they would be the ones. Yeah, for
Awesome.
me,
That's a
ones
pretty
there.
good Mount Rushmore right there. That's a pretty good.
Yes, I think so.
Very nice. Well, let's continue on with Batman. Batman the animated series, Kevin Conroy, the whole series as a whole. What are your thoughts on
Oh,
the series?
fantastic. I mean, I think that one very much based like on the Tim Burton style. Yeah, I think a lot of fans may think that that's the closest then to Batman '89, and
Mhm.
Kevin Conroy, superb, absolutely wonderful,
Yeah,
great voice, great sort of
yeah,
presence. He was just perfect,
yeah.
absolutely perfect.
Did you and
Yeah.
Kevin ever cross paths at any point?
No, I mentioned some time ago because I had some fan art done with that image with my face, and I was just saying how much I wished I could have met him because just an incredible guy. I mean, he again just seems so natural, so down to earth, such a warm,
Yeah,
genuine person. Yeah,
yeah.
yeah,
Yeah, we were
I love.
lucky to have him for so many years and so many different incarnations, the cartoons, the video games. It's like that was such a perfect voice for that incarnation of Batman.
Yes, yes, I think he was just one on his own again, wasn't he? He was just so right for that.
Yeah, 110%. Yeah, he will be missed. Absolutely. I watched a great
Yeah.
documentary on him a few days ago. Warner Brothers came out with kind of like a retrospective on him and the animated series, and it was really good. It was released, I think, about a week ago, and it was really good. I'd recommend
Yes.
checking it
Yeah,
out.
I must get to see that. I must get to see that because
But
yeah, so he's just brilliant.
all right, and then thoughts on just first thing that comes to mind. Thoughts on Returns, Forever, and Batman and Robin, the films.
Yeah, well, I mean, I thought Val was, was very good, really. I think again, there's conjecture over the material, isn't there, the script and everything, but I think he was. The funny thing was that I actually saw him in London. I was living in West London, and I revisited the place where I saw him not so long ago because I'd been to this Never Ending Fantasy Con. I think I mentioned it's going to be on one of my blogs, and I had some time and I popped over to this place. It's called Chelsea Farmers Market, and it's changed a lot over the years. But I remember being there maybe not so long after '89, and seeing him there, and I didn't actually get a very good feel about him initially from that observation. I found his energy a bit sort of spiky, but that may have just been one of those things. He may have been under some pressure or whatever. But certainly, no, I think he was right. He was very, very good for what he did, and I think the
Yeah,
material may, just sort of let him down along the way. And I know there's this thing now, isn't there? This release the Schumacher cut, etc.,
I
etc.,
am
etc.
curious about that. I would
Yeah,
love to see that actually happen. And
yeah,
again, supposedly, the gears are turning on that. And Kevin Smith has a cut of it, and I'm sure you're all up on that. But
yes.
fingers crossed, that would be fun to see, just out of sheer curiosity.
Well, I've heard it's excellent. I really have heard it's excellent. And there's this petition, isn't there, to really get it to happen, which I think I'm wholeheartedly behind. I think it's only
Yeah,
right that we're given that. We shouldn't be denied that, and then we
100
can make our own judgment, can't we, from there? But to
exactly.
be denied it's and I think I've been denied as well, and the fans have, because I had that opening sequence shot, with the gargoyles on the rooftop, and they replaced it with an early form of CGI. So I feel bereft from that because I think that would have been an even better opening.
I agree. Does
That
that footage still exist,
transition.
or was it cut?
Well, I believe so. I believe it does, but Michael Uslan doesn't seem to know of its existence. But
You never know.
there's a still of
No,
it. Yeah.
it might be one of those where magically it appears and Could be added to some extended cut or, behind the scenes footage or something.
Yes, yes, yeah. No, I mean, I'm sure it's there, as a lot of these behind the scenes photographs are, because, when I think back of the time I was around on set, whatever, that there was a lot of things being snapped.
Hmm.
And I'm sure there's a lot more out there. It just needs to surface. That's the thing.
Absolutely. Yeah, I'm sure there's a treasure trove of footage out there for
Yeah.
so many projects. Batman Forever, Batman 89, but any
Yeah.
movie you can think of. Um,
Yes.
how are your thoughts on I was gonna say Val Kilmer too, before I forget. I had a run-in with Val Kilmer a few years ago, back when he was still able to speak and everything. He was doing a tour of a one-man show that he did. He did a one-man show on Mark Twain, and he was at
Oh,
a little comedy club downtown Phoenix, Stand Up Live, a very um, kind of unusual venue for
yes.
that type of thing. And I saw him out on the patio, and I didn't want to bother him. He looked like, he was looking a little gaunt, a little sick at the time, and I kind of got that vibe like, he doesn't want to have anyone talk to him. But
No.
I did get to ask him a question though when he was doing the Q&A, and I said, you played Doc Holliday, you played Jim Morrison, you played these historical figures. I said, and of course at that point he'd done Mark Twain. I said, if you could do anyone else, who would you pick? And he said, Thomas Paine or John Locke. So historical figures. Um,
Yeah.
but that was my only Val Kilmer interaction. But it was
Experience.
cool seeing him do something like that. And it's really sad, how his health deteriorated and kind of robbed
Oh,
us seeing more performances of him.
it's really tragic, isn't it? It's so
Yeah,
sad. Yeah.
so sad.
Incredibly
But
sad.
he was a great Batman. I mean, he did a lot of great roles,
Really sad.
but
Yeah.
for what it was fun. Forever has a soft spot in my heart, definitely.
Yeah. I think so too. Yeah. I think so. And, nice to see Michael Gough, Alfred, continuing as well.
Yeah, that was
You know,
wonderful. He was probably my favorite Alfred.
yeah, me too. Me
Yeah,
too. I remembered him from earlier movies, growing up, and yeah, he's one of those seasoned pros, wonderful guy.
yes. What were your thoughts on Batman and Robin? I know a lot of people joke about it, but that's one of the
Yeah,
first movies I remember seeing on the big screen as a kid. So I kind of have a different perception of it, even though I know it's goofy. I still like it. But what are your
yeah,
thoughts on that with
yeah,
Schwarzenegger, Mr. Freeze, and
yeah,
everything?
I still like it. I mean, it's got all of that as well, hasn't it? All the others in there, and I'm a fan of Clooney, although I know, it's then the suit started to look so different, didn't it, as well? And I think all those elements
The
may have
Batman, right?
elevated the film too well. But no, I mean, I'm like you. I enjoy it. It is goofy in that way, and I mean, my favourites are always going to be, and I'm not just saying that. Even if I had nothing to do with the Tim Burton movies, they'll always. I mean, '89 will always be the one. But no, I can appreciate all the different iterations, even right through now. That they are what they are, and
Yes, the darkness. You like the darkness of
the
the Burton.
darkness. Yeah, I do. I think where I struggle is I appreciate. I've got nothing against CGI, but I just believe there's a balance. If you can have that, so that yes, it needs it. We know it's cheaper and they can achieve so much by using it, but in an ideal world, I'd like it to be a little bit more balanced, where
I agree.
I, I think in the Flash, I know I'm jumping ahead, but I think it's
Well, I
got,
was definitely going to ask about the
yeah,
Flash. Yeah, I'd love to hear
yeah,
your thoughts on the Flash.
yeah. I mean, I'd gone with a couple of great friends to this double feature, and at that stage they had got the unfinished to prevent the spoilers for the Flash. But we saw the '89 first, and that was still so entertaining, still holds up so well. And then it got to the Flash, and I just felt Michael was the best thing about that movie, as we know. I mean, he's
Yeah,
just superb again. His
yeah,
his facial expressions, the cerebral. acting that he does. I mean, he's just his presence is fantastic. But I
Yeah,
did start to switch off a bit with the amount of special effects and things that were going on because I'm a great believer in the routing process in movies where you need to be with the characters, you need to believe it and go along with it. And I just found for me it was getting a little bit too much. But again, it was well done. I mean, there was good, very good parts to it. But
for sure.
I think it's getting this balance. It's the thing that they must try to seek and hold out for. That if you just keep pummeling all the time all these effects, that whether people will lose the passion somehow. I don't know, the
Yeah,
belief.
I think they strike the perfect balance back in movies like The Matrix, movies like The
Yes,
Mummy, movies
yes,
like the late '90s, sorry, I can't talk, early 2000s transitional phase where they were reliant on practical effects, but CGI was becoming more prominent.
yeah,
But it was like
yes,
that perfect blending. I think there was like, yeah, late '90s, early 2000s, you saw like a perfect blend. And even in the early '90s, you'll get, the prime examples of like, Jurassic Park and Terminator 2 and movies like that, where it's
yes,
like it was used so skillfully and sparingly, and
yes,
they really
yes,
took time. Now it's just like as quick as they can get it out. It looks cheaper, and it's something's wrong when you look at something from 2024 and it looks cheaper than something from 1991. You're kind of like, well, wait a minute, what's the disconnect?
yes, yeah. And I think there are a number of people that are perhaps frightened to say the truth. Like, it's wrong, but why not stand by your opinions? You're not being a spoiler per se. You're not trashing the whole thing. I'm just saying about, like you've said, this there's a disconnect if you're not careful. You want the balance there,
Yeah,
but I'm still a great believer in trying to give jobs to people like myself.
100%. Yeah,
Performers.
yeah. There's no
Not
need
real.
having everyone replaced with some CGI doppelganger. When you could have the real
Yes.
thing. And it's
Yeah.
like you can use it sparingly. I think it's in some situations where it's too dangerous or where it's you know it doesn't make sense to have a real person there. I get it, but nine
Yes.
times out of 10, get the real guy if you can.
Yeah. Definitely. And it's keeping that creative feel, isn't it? That thread running through the movie that you're saying, well, look, we've got talent in all spheres. We've got the performers, we've got the technical guys, everything, and it's much more of a blend for me if you can get that. And it's worked so well in the past. I mean, they've used performers in RoboCop, in Star Wars, everything.
Yeah.
There's been a person. And I love that. Whether they're actors or dancers or whatever they might be, just
Mhm.
give those people that opportunity.
No,
You know,
100%.
yeah. And then you mix it in with your other type of work as well. So you do that, and then you do your theatre or your television or whatever else. It gives you a great variety.
Yeah, I agree 100%. And I agree with you too. I like The Flash. I know it had its flaws, but I don't think it deserved all the hate that it got. I personally
No,
enjoyed it. I saw it
no,
on the big screen. And
no.
my big thing though is I was there for Batman. And
Yes.
that kind of leads me into the next thing I'd like to talk about is Batman Beyond. I think that movie was going to be kind of the gateway to getting a live action Batman Beyond film. And I guess since it didn't do well commercially, they said, hey, they're going to scrap that idea, which is a shame and I think a bad decision. But the cartoon and the comics that they did for Batman Beyond, I'm a huge, huge fan. What are your feelings on Batman Beyond, and what would you like to see done if they were to make a live action or an animated feature length version of Batman Beyond?
Oh wow. Yeah, well I'm in agreement with you. I found that in the animated as well that yeah, I mean I just think we're all desperate, aren't we, for something to happen.
Yeah,
I mean I'd love to come back really in many ways myself. I'd love to get involved again, and I think carrying on the same vein as
Mm.
what Tim has created, really. I still think there's more, like a lot of the fans, isn't there? That there's so much more there still to
There's a
give.
hunger. There's a
Yeah,
hunger.
there's a hunger. Yeah, yeah,
'Cause I
and
look at like Batman Beyond, and that was only 3 seasons. They only did 3 seasons, and then they took the animating team to work on the Justice League cartoon, and they
yeah,
just walked away from. They did the movie. They did the Return of the Joker, Revenge of the Joker, whatever it was called. Um, but that was it. And it's like I'm sure if they did something like that, I know there was a teaser, a fan made thing that they did where it was Batman Beyond in the style of the Spider-Verse movies, those animated
yes,
films.
yes.
That that would be such an intelligent way to go because it wouldn't have the pressure of a live action film and the expectations because
No,
an animated IP and bringing it to the big screen. But I think if they did the Spider Verse route, that would be really cool with the tasteful CGI.
yes, that's what I'm feeling as well. If you got that tastefully done, it would just be brilliant, wouldn't it?
Yeah, that would be fantastic. And then of course next in the logical order, Christian Bale's Batman. Yeah, Batman Begins, The Dark Knight, The Dark Knight Returns. Um, what are your thoughts on those films? And of course, the late Heath Ledger and Christian Bale.
Oh, I thought Heath was just amazing. Terrific actor, and so different, that one. I mean, Jack will always be
Yeah.
my favorite, but I think Heath was just incredible in that, and I think Christian as well. Very very good. I think, like people have picked up with the voice. I think Michael has been the only one, hasn't he, that's had that true kind of Batman Bruce switch
Yeah.
with the voices. So not quite so convincing on that side for me. But no, I thought he did very very well. I mean, physically, I think he handled it well. Lots of training there, had some good setups, didn't he, with what he could do.
Oh yeah.
Um, but yeah, I mean, I think it's a big ask, as we know, isn't it? That Batman Bruce duel thing, and he was great, but as I say, I think voice wise,
I get
Michael's just got
absolutely.
everything.
And so I
Yeah,
don't
and I
get
think
so I don't get torn apart in the comments. I made the mistake of saying Dark Knight Returns. The third one was Dark Knight Rises, I believe. So I don't
yes,
get chewed apart in the comments. Let me just correct myself. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Forget. I know the Batman fans will get a little intense.
yeah. I mean, you realise that with these various iterations that they are what they are. They are going to be different. I mean, it's like when Ben, uh, took over as well. Completely different suit look, the physicality, a lot more sort of violence in that way, a lot more sort of beating. So different. Um, I just personally prefer the more streamlined sort of Batman in terms of the fluidity. So I'm not a massive one for sort of brute force with a lot of the stuff, but that's just my opinion. I mean, I'm not trashing it in by any way. It's just preference on my part. But he brought a menace. He brought a very physical side to it, which hadn't been done really in that sense, hadn't
Yeah.
it? So you admire him for that, and completely different feel and look to the whole thing.
You heard it here, everyone. Carl Newman hates Christian Bale, and he hates. No, I'm kidding.
No, not true. I mean, we got the likes of Michael Keaton, didn't we, in Alfred? So we're
Yeah,
just very grateful for that.
absolutely.
But
Yeah, no, they did
it's,
good.
it's
Yeah.
yeah,
And then what are your thoughts on Ben
Robert.
Affleck and the
Yeah,
Justice League films? And personally, I'll just say they didn't resonate with me. I wasn't a fan of
no.
the Zack Snyder ones. But what were your thoughts?
Well, I was the same. I just have that same feeling like you, that they don't resonate with me. I think it's that. it's that look and it's that feel again, that very sort of brutal, sort of physical way. I just don't like it for the sake of it, if you like, which I feel it can be like that. You like the dark and the light, but I think it's getting that balance with the physical element where
Yeah.
you can you switch off from it. You can lose the interest there.
Yeah.
I mean, it's weird because you watch something like Predator or Terminator, and that is very physical. But I
Yeah.
think it's just something that works all round, doesn't it?
It
With the
works.
whole thing, with the
It's
James
it's
Cameron.
a, yeah, it's like an element of it's interesting you mentioned that because those are some of my favorites. Like I love Terminator, I love Predator, I love
Me too.
those
Me
straight up
too.
action sci-fi films. Big Schwarzenegger fan. But there is a difference, if you're working with something like, let's say Batman versus Superman or something like that, there needs to be a component of solid storytelling going along with it and something that sells
Yes.
it believable.
Yes.
And I think that's what worked with Predator and Terminator. It was like a nice tight script and the way it was packaged and sold just was believable, even though it's something
Yes.
crazy.
Yeah.
You're thinking about, a robot coming from the future killing people with, a metal endoskeleton and everything. And it's just like, but you believe it. You're like, it works. There's
Yeah.
something about the way it's done where it's like, I'm fully invested in this. I fully believe
Yeah.
this. But then there's other ones you watch where it's like, well, this is like watching a video game and this is stupid.
Yes. Yeah, and I think you got the Arnie lines there, hadn't you, with the Terminator. So I think it's nice if you can get a little bit of humor in there as well.
Yeah.
Just adds that variation, which is so good, And yeah, so they didn't resonate with me quite the same. No, I mean Bennett's a brilliant actor. There's
Oh,
no
he's a
question.
excellent
Very
director.
talented
Yeah.
guy,
Yeah.
script as well with the Good Will Hunting,
Yeah.
etc. But yeah, I think it's just you take to like with actors and people with the roles that they play and
Yeah.
what just like you say the Zack Snyder. I mean it's just whether you go along with that side. Some people do. For me, I'm not quite such a fan.
Yeah, yeah, no, I'm the same way, and not to fully discredit Zack Snyder. Like I love Watchmen. I think Watchmen was his pinnacle. I think that was a wonderful film. He did a great job with that. But just personally, I think I wish he would have taken more elements of Watchmen with that style and the
Yes,
feel of and brought that into Justice League and Batman v Soup and everything like that. And I
yes,
feel like something got lost and kind of got watered down. And I don't know if that was Zack Snyder's fault. I don't know if that was too much studio involvement that kind of watered things down. But yeah, I just feel something didn't translate. Definitely.
no, no, that's my
Yeah,
feelings. Yeah.
yeah. And then as far as the Robert Pattinson Batman, the Batman, how did you feel about that?
Yeah, well, I've enjoyed seeing him. I mean, I think critics are very hard, but because the Bruce element is so different, isn't it? But
Yeah,
I've enjoyed him. I think he's got a great look. There's been some lovely moments in there as well. I don't know whether for me it was overlong the movie and sometimes I believe that less is more. You don't necessarily need a 3 hour movie to make it justifiable. I think, measure it, 2 hours is plenty or just slightly over 2 hours. But yeah, there was some great moments certainly within there. So I think it's good. It's good to see him. Totally different suit as well, which we admire, we appreciate.
hmm
But yeah, no, I shall definitely go and they're going to do 2 and 3, aren't they? Apparently back to back, I believe.
yeah, yeah. I'm excited about that. And then I heard
Yeah,
the Penguin HBO show is supposed
yes,
to be its own thing, which is kind of a cool offshoot thing that they're doing, which I haven't seen really done before, where it's like an HBO show in between films is a very unique approach. I like that. I like that. We'll see how it
yes,
is. I like the
yeah,
concept.
yeah. I like the concept as well. Yeah, I think there's a lot going on, isn't there? So it's very exciting for the fans out there. But yeah, no, I enjoyed him. I thought, he's very different, but I think he'll get even more into it as well with his subsequent movies, I think. The big shoes to fill, as we know, aren't they? These big
They
bat
are.
boots.
They're big black Air Jordans to fill, right? Spray
Exactly.
spray painted black Air Jordans. Is that what they were?
That's it.
That I did have another question for you. Um, the fitness side of things, going back to your athleticism, going back to your ballet background, everything like that. Off the top of your head, or kind of a rough remembering of how it was back around circa 1988, going into 89, when you were actually doing the stunt work and you're doing the movements and you're actually Batman at that point in time. What was your workout routine like? What kind of stuff were you doing to stay in shape? I'm sure dancing on its own is very physical. You know, you're getting a workout just doing that. But what were you doing diet and exercise wise to be Batman and to be doing those movements in those suits?
Yeah, well, I mean, I was very conscious of my diet. I always ate a very balanced diet, but sort of like an athlete diet as well. With the carbs and getting the fruit and the protein as well for repair. But
Hmm.
I was very fortunate that I think prior I was doing so much anyway, so I would be constantly doing class or some weight training or some aerobic running, everything. I always used to cross train because I always believed in that kind of fitness where you did a variety of things and lots of mobility. We had the benefit of using a gym at Pinewood as well. So that was also fantastic to have that.
That's nice.
Um, yeah, but I would have time to limber, to get mobilized for sequences and things like that. And so yeah, I mean, I think what hurt me the most about returns was that I got, if I can say it, I got even fitter after 89. And people were saying to me that I should have been. We had a guy called Mr. Motivator who came over and was someone that taught fitness to the nation, if you like. He used to go on TV and he'd be showing them all these exercises and things. And I made a fitness video with a group of other trainers, some dancers, some personal trainers, etc. But I got even fitter and stronger after 89. And I think I was just so primed and ready to do even more. And as again, for some reason, you hit these brick walls. But I've retained that. I've always kept that ethos and ethics of fitness and mobility and looking after myself. And yeah, you've got to enjoy yourself a little bit here and there and come off and whatever. But yeah, I'd say that I was very, very focused throughout that period, especially with
Did you
with the fit.
implement any martial arts of any kind, or any boxing or anything like that into your
Uh,
routine?
well, I'd done some Shotokan karate before, and I'd worked with some people that were good at martial arts as well. I mean, you were maybe even doing certain things for castings, for commercials, because there was a lot of films and things that were casting for the likes of people like me, for people that were dancers that could move really well and stuff. But boxing was something I really had enjoyed from a younger age. And then I did that when I went to Australia. I used to do a lot of boxercise
Nice.
when I was there. And I think there's probably a natural element to that because I love to watch, Muhammad Ali and great fighters like that.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah,
Sugar
boxing.
Ray Leonard. Yeah, and as you know, I mean, it's a brilliant fitness, when you're
Yeah.
doing that kind of stuff and skipping and the running and the medicine ball and yeah, I mean, I would say that I was a really insane fitness gym junkie. I was doing it all.
Mhm.
And a particular gym I used to attend a lot in London was a place that we had a lot of great people, athletes, and people that would come and train there. So you were in the right kind of crowd as well. So it was very inspirational.
That's
I mean,
awesome.
one of the teachers was an ex-Royal Ballet dancer as well. She was incredible, and her and I used to team up and do things. And yeah, it was just the most amazing time that I dipped my toes in absolutely everything, and I was absolutely mad for it. You know, couldn't get enough of it.
That's a good addiction to have, I think.
I think so.
I think if you, and like I said, just spitballing ideas here, if you were to outline your workout routine and different fitness tips and diet tips and everything that you did for Batman and for that era around, Batman 89 and beyond, and package that as an ebook, I think people would be incredibly interested in that. I think people would be incredibly interested in getting fit like Batman.
No, well, that's a really great idea. You know, I used to be one of those guys, well, I still am, but I would have all these books. So I would look at the very much the Chinese philosophy with, there's these books that were dynamic tension where you can tense the muscles just purely from certain positions, and I suppose it's like an isometric type exercise where you're doing that, and that can really work well with the muscle tone. But I would
Yeah,
have all these various books, and I'd also look at some gymnastic type exercises. So, loving people like Bruce Lee, but then looking at some of these exercises, and then I would take those into the gymnasium. So, like on the pull up, like a chinning type bar, I used to bring my legs up and over, and then inside, turn myself sort of inside out, and then
oh,
uh, bring my legs sort of back over. So a lot of the strength is in the shoulders, but then you're pulling yourself over with your abdominals and everything else. But yeah, I'd have a go at all these various things, and I found them just incredible. I think when you've got that bit between your teeth, when you've got that passion and that love of it, you just think, wow, what else can I try? And I
yeah,
used to be absolutely mad with my abdominal exercises, and I think that really helps then with movement and control,
yeah,
etc. And dancers usually got very strong legs from all the bouncing, all the the jetés and whatever else, and so they were things that put me in good stead. But I also worked on those as well, lunges as well, things like that, all kinds of things. I used to be able to have one leg sort of out and then just lower myself down on one leg and then up again without even holding onto a bar, the balance and they're just things that you strive for. So then you take those into the movie and you've got an advantage, I think, then because your body's adept at doing stuff.
I bet.
So then,
Yeah, you got to have that balance. You got to have that strength.
yeah, and I was just sad that I couldn't have got, not that, I mean, Michael probably had his training regime and his people around him, but I would have loved to have just said, oh, look, let's do some stuff together, or have you tried this? Because you're always, whatever, you always learn, don't you, from whoever. You can just at least approach it and, you know, we all benefit at the end of the day. But I never really had that good fortune. I think it was one of those things that it was being very much done on the hoof.
Hmm.
This movie, they probably thought initially, look, one stunt guy will be more than enough. We've got
Hmm.
Michael. But then it was when they sort of realized, no, it's just not complete.
Hmm.
There's these missing elements. So
The movement
that's
was needed. Yeah.
yeah, yeah, very much so. And
Did you ever have any moments where it was you and any of the other stunt performers? It seemed like there were a few times where the lines would kind of blur, like the Axis Chemical scene, where it's like, okay, who's the appropriate person for this specific stunt or this specific shot? Did you ever have
Yeah.
that with any fight scenes? Because it's like I know there's specifically choreographed fight scenes and everything's all worked out for that. But did you get involved with any of that? Were there any points where they're like, "Hey, let's have you in here for this," or how did that work with picking and choosing scenes and your involvement on any fight scenes?
Well, I did see the alleyway. Sorry, the alley one with Bob. With Michael initially, I saw that sort of fight scene that was going on, and at that time, I mean, I think that was going to stand, with what Michael had done, because I think he was very proud of that. I would see things, I would see certain things with the fighting, but I never really got involved in that. I think what they just felt was that, I think it was John Peters that wanted it pepping up more, that alley fight. So that's where they got Dave Lee in. But I think ordinarily I didn't get so involved with the fighting. I could, as I say, I could see it, but I think they just felt that they just needed. I mean, in that bell tower sequence, there was four of us. So I mean, it's just quite staggering that they just know that they tried to do it with just the one guy. They may have thought, right, we've done that fight scene, now we'll carry on because it's just a bit easier because you got him in the suit and then you're in the moment, you're just sequentially following through. But it just showed that it was so unique that even the martial arts guy or the stunt guy, they were specific to what they did, but they couldn't then move the same way. I mean, I think some of the stunts were just incredible that Sean did, in
Yeah,
that with the bell, that was a really dangerous sequence with that huge bell. But they just didn't have, this is my point about, you it's a different skill is the movement and having that fluidity in the suit. Well, you can fight in it, yeah, but it doesn't mean to say that you can do the other components of it. And I think this is why this film is so unique, is
yeah,
the fact that it just needed everything.
yeah,
And they minimize that in subsequent movies because it's just not there, is it? They've concentrated on maybe one thing, whether it's smashing through something or flying or whatever else, but
yeah,
they've not had those cape flourishes and movements and things the same. So I think it was just how it evolved. There was no sort of say, sometimes they were even discovering things themselves, and I think they got to a point where also they didn't want to upset anyone, and especially Michael, that they thought, well, if we eliminate even more of his scenes, then he's not going to be too happy about that. So we have to allow, and I think he did a great job. As I say, he's a fantastic actor,
mhm,
um, and it was something that he wasn't. He didn't feel. I know he said about the hearing and that he felt claustrophobic, but it added to his introvert element of the character.
mhm,
But I think for someone like myself, I'm just a masochist, and I just didn't even worry about what the suit was like.
yeah.
Um,
They
just
didn't have any kind
just
of earpiece in there, did they, for you to hear like direction?
no, no,
No.
not at all. No, not at all. So yeah, but I think that was the answer to that is that they didn't ordinarily know everything. I mean, Tim had a great idea, and that's why he said, "Look, Carl, you've got to do this." But I think second unit wise, sometimes it blurred a little bit where they tried to do things, but then thought, "No, we've got to get that right person." So that's why that particular bell tower scene is so unique, is that
Yeah.
there's all of us. Yeah, and it's
Yeah, I
quite
know that
incredible.
added kind of hastily at the end, wasn't it? But it from what I saw in some of the behind the scenes stuff, but in my opinion, it's so perfect. Like it's such a cool ending.
Oh,
Like I
it's
don't,
amazing.
I can't imagine anything different. I think it's such a perfect
No,
ending to that. Yeah,
yes, it is. I mean, it's and I think it's trying to get that message out that that's me at the end as well, with the bat signal, because I think there's been a lot of conjecture over that. Oh, it's a model, it's this, it's that, or but I can
Looking up,
honestly,
looking up at the bats.
yeah, I can honestly say hand on heart that I did film that. I mean, that was one of the earliest scenes that I filmed on
Cool.
a platform, and you just wish in a way that there was somebody there with a camera. I'm sure there was, but I mean, for me, I wish I could. It was a different scene back then, wasn't it? Unlike today, where you say to someone, "Oh, look, can you just take a picture of me?" But
Yeah.
there, you just got on with it. But
When you did that scene, when you were up there on the platform at the very end, looking up at the bat signal, was that all real? Like, was there actually a projection of the bat signal to look at, or was that added in post?
it was all added in post. That was, yeah, because I was there in full regalia with a huge propeller that was blowing the cape, and of course that was my forte, was how to hold and lift myself and have that sort of elegance. And yeah, it just felt amazing to be on there, because you are really a superhero in that pose, aren't you? That
Yeah,
look. And I just remember that Tim absolutely loved it. He got everything he wanted with that aesthetics and everything else. And as I say, I just wish someone would have taken a few snaps of that you could have had as a behind the scenes, because
yeah,
I think for me that's people have said it's one of the most iconic endings ever. I suppose
yeah.
like the beginning, but to have had that moment was something else.
To have that verified by you, though, that's special. I think that's awesome to have that captured.
Thank you. No, I would say I can honestly say that when I was given that opportunity, I was just like, wow, this is just me on my own, on that platform. And who doesn't love all these special effects when you've got a huge propeller that's there and it's just creating that cape sort of throwback, and rustling, and oh yeah, just amazing.
That's amazing. Did you keep anything from the production? Did you keep any kind of did you keep like a script, or did you keep any mementos or any
Yeah,
any items?
yeah. I was given a chest plate
Oh,
by the special effects team, and I had a stunt cap. I had invitations, badges, a jacket from Jack.
cool.
Got call sheets. I've got some of the original photos from Herb Ritz and David Gamble that did the Life magazine shoot.
What was the
Uh,
jacket that you got? Was it a like
yeah,
a special?
it's like a crew jacket based on the Goons.
Cool.
I decided, I mean, I hope no one will think any worse of me, but I decided to let someone else have them, because I'd owned them for all those years.
Yeah,
And I've got two daughters. They I think they're very proud, but they didn't seem to be too bothered. So I thought, I'll let someone else have the pleasure of owning these. So I
yeah,
decided to sell them, and I've kept the photographs and the badges and things, and the call sheets and stuff. But um, I've just got the memories, and I've got this new fan art and things that people have done, and I'm more than happy with that. I'm just really, really happy for these massive collectors out there to own that. So
absolutely. Especially when
thanks.
it's from direct from the source. I think that's so special. When you can actually get something like that that's beyond verified. It's like, no, this is
Yes.
mine. Here you go.
Yes. Yeah. 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 I decided to do that, and as I say, I've got all that sort of history there of having done it, and
Yeah,
I can let someone else enjoy, because I know there's some amazing, well, there's a lot of amazing collectors out there and stuff, and
absolutely.
I went along to the event, and that was great fun to see my items in with memorabilia from, all these top movies like Aliens and Star Wars and whatever else.
A big
Incredibly
fan.
exciting. Yeah, very exciting.
With the chest plate, did you provide like an autograph with it or anything like that, or did you just leave it as it was?
Yeah, we just left it as it was, and I just filled out, a provenance certification, authenticity of it. Yeah, but
Great.
it
That's great.
was.
Did you ever, sorry, I feel like I'm jumping around a little bit, but I was just thinking back to you talking about your training. Did you ever have any moments, or do you still have moments where you walk around and you see something or you see some sketchy characters and you're like, I could kick your ass. I could kick your ass. I'm Batman. Like, do you ever have that confidence of like, don't cross me? Like,
Well,
did you ever have any situations like that when you were in like shaped for production, like when you were really going super hard, where you did have to defend yourself or get in an altercation or anything like that? And yeah, did anything like that ever
I
happen or
think,
like that?
I mean, it's never happened. I'm pleased to say. I think I'm very keyed in anyway. I'm very, very alert. I think that's just something about me anyway, that I've had that certainly through my fitness and other things has helped, if you like, that streetwise, that awareness
Mhm.
thing as well, yeah. And being around the right people as well that have perhaps been in the armed forces and things and you learn stuff, don't you? But I'm just very, I mean, somebody else asked me this, it is very interesting, but I'm very, very alert to what's around me. But I've never had to go into any situation,
Good,
you know.
good. Except
So
for those thugs in the alley that one time, right?
yes, except for those thugs in the alley.
We don't talk about that. So I really appreciate all the time with you today. It's been amazing, but I am going to start wrapping it up. But one question, actually, a couple questions I like to ask every guest is what is the first movie you remember seeing as a kid on the big screen? And what was your first concert and the most recent concert that you attended?
Wow, I'm just trying to think of the first movie now. Oh,
Or at least the first one that you really remember, the first one that like really had an impact.
I mean, one of my, I used to love, I mean, like Oliver was one of my favorite movies, the great, I'll just think of his name in a minute now. But anyway, the acting, Mark Lester, God, I'll think of his name in a minute. It's just gone out of my head. But I love that movie anyway because that was so real. It was set in that Victorian London, that time. Ron Moody as Fagin. I mean, I don't think that's ever been topped. That
Yeah,
particular movie has it in the sense of that one. It's been made into musicals and subsequent films and stuff, but that was the one for me.
nice.
But I mean, I was seeing all kinds of stuff. I mean, I was so um, versed in a lot of the old stuff, really. I mean, I've loved so many different ones. God, to name them all, really. And the Hollywood ones. I mean, the combination of British and American have been fantastic. A
Yeah.
lot of the musicals as well, I've loved. You name it. And then concert-wise, my word, I used to attend quite a few because I was drumming, as I told you, and I used to attend a lot of these sort of drumming forums and workshops and things. But again, I had a real depth of musical sort of exposure. And I mean, one of the great Americans I got to see when I was only about 16 was Buddy Rich.
Oh
Uh,
wow.
so my drum teacher was a huge fan, and he just bundled me up in his van and said, "Look, Buddy's on over in Nottingham. We'll go and see him." And I remember
That's
that
amazing.
just blew my mind, seeing him live. And then I actually went into his dressing room. Can you believe? And he must have thought, "My God, who's this?" Not that I was going to be a problem, but I was just so determined to meet him and talk to him and get his autograph. But
Did you have the opportunity to get his autograph and speak with him?
yeah, oh yeah, yeah, yeah. He
Wow.
signed because he brought out the modern rudiments for snare drum. His famous book.
Yeah.
So I got that from him. He signed that book for me. But yeah, I was seeing all these amazing bands, and unfortunately, with my oldest brother, he introduced me to Pink Floyd, who I saw later on, and he was a big Zeppelin fan, and Emerson, Lake and Palmer, and King Crimson, all those kind of people.
Great bands.
But
Yeah.
yeah, one of the last concerts I've been may have been uh, possibly Jeff Beck,
Nice.
um, who, phenomenal guy, phenomenal guitarist. Sadly, departed too soon. But yeah, I mean, I've been very, very fortunate that all these amazing, I saw Ella Fitzgerald. I saw she was
Wow.
older. She'd gone a little bit over, but she was with you know, Count Basie's orchestra. So that was fantastic.
That's iconic. Jeez.
Yeah, and Oscar Peterson, I saw him, and so I was very fortunate that my late parents, were into Nat King Cole and Frank Sinatra and Perry and Sammy, Dean, all of those great
Good
crooners.
taste.
So I had a real lovely broad spectrum of music, but I've been following a lot of, as I say, my favorites, Eric Clapton.
Love Clapton.
Yeah, just amazing. Floyd were just amazing as well. And I saw Prince, the Love Sexy tour, I think it was. Yeah, so many people.
Did you see
Yeah, but
Prince before or after Batman?
I saw him before,
Before.
which was
Okay.
very, very good. Yeah, yeah, very,
Interesting.
very good. Yeah,
Okay.
but if there's anyone, um, they're changing it a bit now. They're making it more difficult because I don't live in London anymore. You're trying to get the timings right. And what they do is they tend to have the band on or someone, and then they'll make it much later so that you're probably struggling to get your train back home. And whereas before it seemed to be much easier to fit everything in. But I've been to them so many times now. I probably think, well, if it's someone that I'm really hankering to see, that I haven't seen, then I
Yeah.
will really go for it, and do it that way. Um, but there's, in fact, I took Rachel, my partner, because she's not really experienced quite so much jazz. I love jazz as well,
Yeah.
and
Jazz is great.
I took her to see Jaco Pastoris' son Felix, one of his sons called Felix Pastoris, who's a terrific bass player himself, and he was with a band with Harvey Mason, one of the great drummers. He was playing in a quartet in London, and we went to see that, and that was a great experience. So
Very
there'll,
nice.
there'll be times where I'm thinking I haven't seen that lineup. Let's just go for it, and again, it's like a movie. If it's so good and you've got these brilliant musicians, they just take you to another place, don't they?
Yeah. It's
They're,
like a religious
yeah,
experience.
it is. Yeah, their abilities, their passion, just it's the sum of all parts, isn't it? What they're achieving together is just sensational. So yeah, I'll always have that love for music, but I think I'll pick and choose a bit more and just see what's there that will attract me.
Totally understand that. Yeah, I'm definitely a bit of a concert junkie myself, and I go to a lot of shows. But I've become a little more selective because I think because I have seen so many, I'm kind of getting like you, where it's like I'm a little more picky and choosy now, to an
Yeah,
extent. There's still a little bit of that compulsive, oh, let's just go this weekend for the heck of it. But I've definitely have become a little more selective. They have to be really good.
yeah. I mean, I've been very lucky, Ben, that before when I was more based in London, I had a friend in production, and she would just say to me, "Look, I've got a a ticket for Lenny Kravitz, so I saw him at the Astoria in London. I mean, he was phenomenal as well there. And then she'd have other tickets, and then I had friends in security, and I remember seeing Katie Lang when
Oh,
she just, pretty much broken it on the Ingenue album. She'd broken into the UK more, and that concert was just incredible. They
nice.
had this multi-instrumentalist on stage, and then she was just so good with the audience, such a great performer, fantastic voice. So yeah, all those kind of experiences have been amazing.
That's
When
incredible.
friends just give me those opportunities. Shirley Bassey, for it. I mean, someone like her. I mean, her voice is just, she's one that can just blow a lot of the younger ones away just with the power
Yeah.
of her voice. Yeah,
If you
amazing.
could jam with anybody because you're a drummer, who would you jam with? You said you love Clapton, but if you could pick just like a lineup of like three musicians, who would you want to jam with? Living or
Oh,
dead? Living or dead?
oh well. Well, yeah, I'd love to. I mean, I think there's so many, but can you imagine playing with someone like Nat King Cole? Or I mean, he's someone I just, his piano playing and his timing and just I think such a lovely man as well. No
Yeah.
edge to him, just so humble, so natural.
Yeah, he was so
Apparently
talented. Yeah.
so talented. Yeah, I mean, I'd love to play in a lovely sort of trio type format as well. Something with a great pianist like Oscar or Nat King Cole or any of those great Bill Evans as well, and
Yeah.
any of those. So many great ones, and yeah, I was fortunate to work with a great British guitarist, Alan Holdsworth.
Oh,
I managed to have a jam with him. Well,
nice.
do a blues number. I mean, he was very big in America. He'd done very well. Great British guitarist, but yeah, any of those. I mean, there's so many, isn't there? Dave Gilmour
Yeah.
from Pink Floyd.
Yeah.
So
Legend.
so many of those great musicians. Yeah.
That is awesome. Well, my final question for you, Carl, and thank you. Thank you so much. This has been a tremendous interview. I know it's a bit long, but I just had so many questions for you, so I really do appreciate it. But what is some advice you'd like to give anyone who might be starting out in the industry, someone who might be, whether they're an actor or whether they're another type of performer? What kind of advice would you like to pass on to them if they're struggling or just getting their start?
Yeah, it's just to never give in. I mean, I think the thing is, it's all too easy, isn't it? Where you do face the rejection or the disappointments, but is to still, pick yourself up, believe in yourself, keep going. I mean, I had the same thing. I was getting so close to really big jobs, and then I was just losing out. And then, you can get a little bit down, whatever. Things can creep in, can't they? Doubt, whatever. But is to just keep going and just keep knocking on those doors, keep reaching out to people, find other ways of trying to break in. With acting, I mean, it was always a case of, the way I was told that you could go into like fringe theatre or find ways to have a platform to perform so that then people could come and see you or whatever else, and just to keep networking as well. I think that's the big thing, isn't it?
Yeah,
Talking to people,
yeah. Your net,
finding ways
I've heard
to
people say before, your network is your net worth, and I think that
yes.
really is so true. You know.
Yes, yeah. I mean, even now, I'm just myself, reaching out to people, and yeah, I've got a bookings manager. But anything else, I can try and sort of open a few doors or whatever, or get tickets to get to meet the fans, have an opening, having the website. So yeah, I'd say to performers, keep believing in yourself, keep working hard, keep trying with every avenue, and you'll get there. really will get there. And I'm starting again almost in a way, and I'm determined not to give in. And you know, I've it's taken me a long time to even get to this point. You know, I've had the disappointments, people letting me down, people saying they'll do certain things and they don't.
Yeah.
You waste a year, whatever, and then you get someone else who believes in you more and will help you. And you work with, you know, working with the costume makers as well. They can help you, you can help them. It's all going along together for the ride, isn't it? You know, same with photography, anything. It's getting something that will promote you even more to be taken seriously. And that's what I've done all along. I mean, I work with some incredible photographers
Hmm.
over the years, but it was through also asking around, you know, and talking and saying, look, you know, how do I get to work with these people? And if they can open a door for you, then that's perfect. But they will, if you're a good person, they will help you, and you'll return that in your way as well. And I'm all for helping others as well and encouraging that. And if you've got the dedication, that's brilliant, you know, because nothing is gained through nothing. You know, you've got to put in the hard yards and the hard work, so you'll get there.
That's so true. And yeah, there's really is something to be said about just asking. You never know unless you ask. Like getting you on the show. Thank you. It's like I never would have
Oh.
known had I not reached out to you. So, but I think
That's
that applies to so many elements of, whatever career you're in, but especially if you're in like a creative field, it's like you just have to ask. You have to put yourself out there. You have to keep trying, and rejection is just part of the recipe. It's like rejection is such a huge component I think nobody talks about, or maybe they talk about it, but it's not emphasized enough. And it's like you just have
yes,
to keep going. You have to roll with the punches, and you just have to keep going. And it might take years, but it's like just got to keep plugging away.
keep plugging away. Yeah, never say never, isn't it? That's that thing, and you know, like with these little episodes I've had outside, they've all been enriching. They've nourished me, but you know, it's all come back to the love that I have is still this is the ultimate love and passion here, you know, and you come back to it and you just keep going. And that's the best
Absolutely.
way.
And I know we said it at the beginning, but just to make sure everyone has it, where can they find you? I'll make sure I have the links down below as well for people. And what other projects would you like people to be aware of right now?
Yeah, so they can definitely find me on the social media, which is the handle of Ballybat 1989. Instagram, I think, is one of the biggest sites for me there. But I've been very fortunate to have an amazing website put together, and that's www.ballybat1989.com. So people can go on there and they can see the various scenes and things that I did and some of the fan art, the other podcasts and things there. Started writing a few blogs on there as well. I'm waiting for the second one to come out, but there's the first
Nice.
one where I attended the Batman Live event at the Barbican in London.
Very cool.
Yeah, so you'll also see on there that I'll be attending the Toy Fair and Comic Con in St. Louis, Missouri. That's on October the 20th. So that's one. And working on something in the wings. I can't say too much, but there's something that fans will really, really love that I'm working towards that will be after the St. Louis event. And then that's going to add to something in January next year
Okay.
that will also be incredibly exciting.
So stay
Um,
tuned.
Stay tuned. Yeah, and I'm just reaching out to for people to potentially book me. You know, I just would love to do much more of this, of going and meeting the fans, because after the Barbican event, I managed to meet a good number. They were wonderful, and it's reciprocating that love, you know, and appreciation for everybody that they've shown me is to say, look, you know, I'd love to meet you. We can do some signings. Got some memorabilia, whatever. Do some selfies, whatever else. It's all geared up for it. So yeah, it's to do more and more, and I just I'm probably fantasizing, but I dream of maybe a return. That there may even be a trilogy with Michael.
That would be amazing.
Tim again.
You never know. And like you said, you got to reach out to these people, and you never know what, tomorrow is going to bring. There's
That's right.
so many possibilities, and there's so many, different things that could happen between now and the end of the year, even.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And I've still got it about me. I think it's being that consummate professional. I always think of giving always 100% and giving it my best shot. And my mind is just flooding with sort of ideas and things. And maybe would like to try and recreate the deleted gargoyle scene with a director and a film crew of
That would be amazing.
just doing that, because that would just be mind blowing to see it unfolding across the
Yes.
screen.
And
We've
I know
seen
like,
this.
you did that. Sorry to talk over you there. I apologize. I know like you did that photo shoot recently where you got back into the costume partially, and you were able to
Yes,
recreate some different images. And I know like even Thomas Jane, who portrayed the Punisher, I know a few years back he did a short film called Dirty Laundry, and he fully funded it himself. He was the executive producer. He starred in it, and it was just because he wanted to get back and be the Punisher again. But for whatever reason, Marvel and the studio was like, no, they moved on to somebody else at that point in time. And he was
yeah,
still, ready to do it and hungry for it. So he produced this short film on his own, which is fantastic. And I think it's, you know,
so good.
a perfect, version of the Punisher. And the fact that it's independently funded makes it so much cooler. But
Yeah,
who knows? You could even do something like that too. You get in with a creative team, with a good director, and you could do something
yeah,
like that. That's your own vision or your own calling card.
yeah. Well, I never rule that out, because I think the other great thing with this resurgence of the '89 is that I've met the most amazing people.
Yeah,
And yourself included. I mean, you just there are these amazing creative talents out there, and when you can collaborate, and I'm in touch with them, and it's not to say that that is ever out of the equation. I believe that things are just building all the time. I've seen it with what's happened already, and you know you're not too old. I mean, if Keaton is 71, 72 now, he's in great shape. I'm a lot younger. I mean, I still feel, you know, top of my game. You're wiser. There's nothing better than having that wisdom behind you as well,
yeah,
experience. And yeah, I would love to do so much more. I really would. And I think I can bring lots to the table because of the way I am and my experiences, etc., etc. So it's just having that opportunity, isn't it? Where you're there and you create this together.
absolutely. Well, Carl, your time has been immensely appreciated. Thank you so much for doing this. Would love to have you on again in the future if you'd be interested. But for now,
Absolutely.
same bat time, same bat channel.
Thank
But
you very much, Ben.
of course, and yeah, if you guys are new here, be sure to like and subscribe. Most importantly, remain unfazed. Thanks for watching.
Thank you very much.
Carl, that was great.